Hello, today we will be working on themes in poetry, one of my very favorite topics in ELA. Our essential question, what do good readers do? We're the good readers when analyzing the structure of a poem. So just like a text has structure, so does a poem. Poems are set up or structured in a certain way, and we need to be able to use these structures to identify the theme of the poem. So the theme, of course, is the life lesson, the lesson that you can learn. Now, the one thing about it, most people don't really care about poetry as much as they do something that's clearly understood, because it is oftentimes hard to understand what the poet means. So usually a good rule of thumb is to keep in mind that very seldom does the poet mean exactly what he or she is saying. So usually there's a lot of figurative language. There are a lot of things that don't mean exactly what they are saying. You'll see a lot of themes like life and death be referred to as seasons of the year, for instance. Like winter might mean death or the end of life, whereas spring might mean the beginning, where things are coming to life. So let's take a look. How are poems different from other texts? Turn and talk to a partner about how you think poems are different from other texts. Okay, and we'll share that. I see some of the ideas were that poems have stanzas, whereas other texts have paragraphs. Poems have lines, whereas other texts have sentences. And unlike other texts, poems don't often mean exactly what they say. So let's just take a look at Jack and Jill. Now this one is very elementary. Remember that poem, Jack and Jill Went Up the Hill? Okay, we can all probably restate it. But Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Up Jack got, and home did trot as fast as he could caper. Went to bed to mend his head with vinegar and brown paper. So we think of this as just a simple children's poem, and it is, but there could be some deeper meanings. I was once in a college class where we analyzed the poem of Jack and Jill. And if you think about it, it mentions all about Jack. He fell down. So like maybe this hill is symbolic of life. And maybe when the man falls, sometimes the woman in his life might fall too. And then it analyzed Jack's character in this second stanza. Up Jack got, and home did trot as fast as he could caper. Went to bed to mend his head with vinegar and brown paper. And no mention was made of what happened to Jill, even though she did tumble after him. So just something to think about, that poetry does not always mean exactly what it says. So we're thinking about the theme, and today we're going to analyze the structure of poems to help us figure out what is the author trying to tell us. And in a lot of ways, a poem can be like a photograph. It captures a moment and it can express a strong feeling. Like you see this photograph of the two sitting here, you may conjure up lots of different ideas about what is going on in this picture. But if we take a look at the poem itself, it says, I was alone. I was forlorn. I was hurting deeply. I cried silently, and you took one look at me and knew immediately that my heart was in vain. And you felt my pain. You reached out your hand and held my hand tight. You gave me a hug and whispered, it'll be all right. So this could be a poem of friendship. It's a poem of someone who rescues someone else when they see them in despair. So if we take a look, this has 1, 2, 3 stanzas. How many lines do we have? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And just taking a look at our end words, we see here that we have sky, dreamily, July. So we have an A here. That's our first, if we're going to do our rhyme scheme. Sky and dreamily don't sound alike, but sky and July do. So we have an ABA rhyme scheme. We have 1, 2, 3 stanzas of 3 lines each with an ABA rhyme scheme. Okay, so let's take a look at our poem itself. We're going to analyze it, and the author does have it in 3 distinct stanzas, so that might often be symbolic of 3 different periods of time. A boat beneath a sunny sky, lingering on dreamily in an evening in July. Okay, so that gives you a time of peace. July, we think about the summer. There's a lot of freedom there. Not a lot's going on. It's just lazy days of carefree living. The next stanza might be symbolic of another period of life. Children have come onto the scene, and they nestle near, and they're eager eye and willing ear, just wanting a simple tale to hear. And I know if you as children and older people often have children in their lives that would just like to sit and listen to anything you have to tell them. So that might be a different stage of life. And finally, our third stanza. Long has paled that sunny sky. Echoes fade and memories die. Autumn frost have slain July. So the photograph here, you can see the frost has come. It's becoming the winter or the autumn of life. You're near the end there. So there's a lot more going on there than just a picture, just a poem about a boat and some children. To correctly analyze a poem, you need to look at each line. Each line contributes to the overall theme that that poet is trying to tell you. So let's take a look at the first stanza, a boat beneath the sunny sky, lingering on dreamily in an evening in July. And we said that might mean like summer's relaxed and fun. Children 3 that nestle near, eager eye and willing ear, pleased a simple tale that children bring joy and simplicity. Long has paled that sunny sky, echoes fade, memories die. Autumn frost have slain July. This person is aching for the days of old, reflecting back on life as it has passed. So those are just some ways to look at poetry a little bit different, analyzing the structure of the poem using stanzas and lines and a rhyme scheme. Also analyzing each line as it contributes to the overall thing that we can learn. So the theme of this poem, summer's relaxed and fun, and then you have children and you ache for those days of old. One theme that you might learn, a moral or a life lesson, might be that time goes fast, life passes before you know it, so enjoy it while it's here. So you know that there are more than one theme to most everything that you read. So as long as you learn something from it and can identify it, that's good. Okay, so I hope you've learned some things about poetry and analyzing poetry by using each line to determine the theme of the poem. Thank you.